Hello and welcome back to Cartoon Corner, but this time a quickie. I'm WHYBOY and this is NERO. How dare you. And today we're talking about another Netflix cartoon that just warms our heart in a Gravity Falls sort of way. It's Hilda Season 2 time.
You said it, it's Gravity Falls by way of Paddington Bear.
And just about this little girl Hilda who just town of Trollberg and just meets up with a bunch of weird, strange monsters and all that. And just tries to, help everyone around, because she was kind of nice in the first season. But apparently from interviews and such, the original creator of the story series, Hilda, says that she wasn't really like that. She wasn't super kind in a sense. She was kind of a brat.
Yeah, Luke Pearson, the guy who created the graphic novel series that debuted in 2010, and it's been going since then. I think it's about 6 volumes long right now. The original character of Hilda was made to be more of a bratty character, which makes sense. A lot of the show pulls directly from folklore and mythology, specifically Scandinavian folklore and mythology, but there's something about the way of her being a brat that's very in tune with folklore and mythology and fairy tales. Kids are little snots, and then they learn valuable lessons while interacting, usually with supernatural entities.
And that's basically sort of what we get. Well, the first season she was a lot more nicer, so it was more about the awe-inspiring and just meeting all these sort of monsters and all that, as she was just getting acclimated to the Trollberg setting, which we now see with very warm colors and such.
It's funny because season 2, I feel if season 1 starts off and the idea is it's awe-inspiring, it's beautiful, look at the amazing world around us we've never noticed. Season 2 is this world is horrible.
You'll die.
You'll die, and you'll die a lot. I honestly argue that season 2 made this universe rival Amphibia with all the creatures that pop up, be it the return of the Rat King from season 1 to the Yule Lads.
Definitely the worst for me would be the Vikings showing up, which is the Vikings weren't scary. More the fact of just you die. Characters just clearly died there and they got revived.
This season is much darker than the previous one. First off, death. Death exists.
A lot of it is alluded to, and a lot of it is shown.
Yeah, the first one you see, there were ghosts. I remember the first one, Hilda and her friends wrestle a ghost in the graveyard. And that's ooh. But in this one, we not only get ghosts, we get different kinds of ghosts, for that matter. We get drowned ghosts, we get graveyard ghosts. But on top of that, we have death. Just straight up death exists, and body horror exists.
And I appreciate all that.
I appreciate it because that's sort of an element of fairy tales that gets watered down over the years. Because, this is the thing where it's Disney kind of ruins fairy tales because Disney makes them all kind of squeaky clean. And most fairy tales, it's they're dark usually for a reason to instill a sense of cautionary tale. And a lot of the things Hilda ends up doing this season is she screws up a lot and then she has to deal with the fallout.
Yeah, it definitely works better with her character becoming more of a bratty character. As a lot of her hang-ups and such have to do with the fact that she feels that she knows all this sort of magical monsters and all that sort of stuff. She is the expert at it. And when we meet up with one of the new characters, the sort of the new dumbass in town.
Oh yeah, the guy in charge of protecting Trollberg, so he basically
safety patrol.
Who may or may not be a commentary on current political climate because it's an idiot who comes in, makes bad, rash decisions that actually cause more problems in the grand scheme of things than resolving current problems that are existing.
But we all love Eric Alberg for how terrible he is.
Yeah, because he's not going to get us all killed. I mean, in that universe he might.
No, he's definitely going to get us killed in that universe.
I feel by the way, this season, they gave more to do for Frida and David. Frida, she's gonna become an apprentice witch now, so she's going through her little witch academia. And David's life is proven to be nothing but a series of hells.
He's just precious. He's just a precious little cinnamon bun you need to protect because he's so real. He's the most real little boy in this world.
He acts exactly how the rest of us would act if we were children in this world. People like to think, I'd be like Hilda because she's the power fantasy. She's the escapist character. But the reality is no, you'd be David. You'd be horrified about half the crap you run into in your existence.
You'd be like, no, I don't want to deal with any of this.
I really found the animation was really good this season, and the animation was good last season too, but because they actually played a bit more, not even with just episode length, because some episodes are slightly longer than others.
Because it's a season 2 territory, it got so much more experimental, with so much use of different sort of negative spaces in some of them, and a lot more ideas of just the changing of art styles in some sections, which I found really, really awe-inspiring, even more awe-inspiring than in the first season.
Yeah, and I also like that they carry over a lot from the previous previous season. Like, Twig is still there, her little companion deer fox, but then they play with the idea of, like, there's a bigger story behind Twig's character. Alfred Aldrich, the little elf that does all the paperwork that goes on this journey with her, and then he ends up getting in trouble with, like, his elf town's record keepers because they were like, oh, so you're just making all this stuff up. All this stuff you say that happens doesn't actually happen. And it's like, and that's a story in and of itself where he has to be like, this is my life. I deal with this stuff every day. And I think that's really interesting that they're actually increasing side characters. Like Alfred got more, Frida, David got more. Kaiser, the librarian in the first one, is revealed to be a witch in season 2. Tantu, the Nissa, the spirit that could travel into like nowhere space between spaces at the end of season 1.
He's much more of a main character nowadays. He's like actually living with Hilda and everything.
Yeah, and nowhere space plays a bigger role.
Basically, Hilda season 2 builds upon beautifully what season 1 like laid the foundation for. The sort of weirdness of it is that it had to leave on just sort of like a cliffhanger ending. It's like,
But that also leads us into the 70-minute movie they're developing, so that might be what we're going to get from this now, is we'll go from this cliffhanger ending, which is based off of one of his books, I believe, and that will either maybe wrap up the series, or at very least it'll be another installation, because there's been no confirmation of season 3 yet, but season 2 is wonderful. I'm genuinely really enjoying it. I actually do want to kind of go and read the graphic novels, and it's really rare for me to ever like see a show and be like, oh, what's the source material? But with Hilda, to me, it's like a case of I'd like to do that.
It's the same for me as well. There's just such an appreciation for the writing and art style in Hilda that makes you just want to keep on watching it. It's just addictive like that. And I definitely want to see where season 3 or the movie goes with the story that we were just left off with, the season 2 cliffhanger. Because I'm not saying like the cliffhanger is bad in the sense of just like, oh, it's just going to die and then we'll never see anything of the show again. No, I almost hate it more because it's just like it was so properly built up. Point where it's just like, I feel satisfied with the cliffhanger, but I want to see more immediately.
I'd rather just get a wrap up. I'm not against cliffhangers. Sometimes that's good for a story, that the idea is the story will always continue to go even when it quote unquote ends. But because the way this season in particular ended, it's like, so there's a little bit more story here. And I think if it was just like, oh, we're canceled now.
Wrap-ups are definitely always preferred.
That suck.
Thank you for watching Cartoon Corner Quickies. We hope you enjoyed the bite-sized and improvised review, and hope with these first test reviews we can get more reviews out courtesy of the ToonGrin boys in the new year. If you like this review or want to tell us what you thought of Hilda Season 2, please be sure to like and comment your thoughts below. And be sure to hit the subscribe and notification bell to keep up to date on every ToonGrin upload. And follow us on our social media and Discord by following the links in the description below. That's all for now. Have a happy new year, screw you 2020, and as always be sure to tune in to ToonGrin.